On the night of her wedding, the young woman sat anxiously on the edge of the bed, waiting for the groom to finish his shower. The moment the man opened the bathroom door, she steeled herself for what was to come. But he showed no tenderness, roughly pushing her down onto the bed. What happened next followed the script she had imagined. However, just as she was getting into the moment, the man whispered in her ear that their marriage was nothing but a contract. He would never fall in love with her. In an instant, his words shattered her romantic fantasies, leaving her with a sharp, tearing pain in her chest. The woman on the plane snapped her eyes open, looking around in a daze, only then realizing it had all been a dream. Feeling like she had just returned from another world, she heard the announcement that the plane would land in 15 minutes. She gently wiped the tears from her eyes, telling herself not to overthink it. In just one more year, this contract marriage would be over. Suddenly, her phone buzzed. It was a message from her CEO husband: meet him at the entrance of the family estate at 7 p.m. so they could go in together. However, she got caught up reading some documents on the way and lost track of time, making him wait for the first time ever. The moment he saw her, he pulled her into his arms, a sudden gesture that stunned her. Before she could resist, she heard his mother's voice from inside the house. Even though their marriage was a contract, the woman, Sia, always put on a happy, smiling face in front of their family. As soon as they stepped inside, her mother-in-law, Susan, came to greet them. Susan was the only one who had ever shown her any real warmth in this family. As they were chatting, a loud smack echoed from the living room. A magazine featuring a scandal about her husband, Liam, and a female celebrity was on the table. Liam's father had seen it and was scolding him. Sia secretly enjoyed seeing Liam in a tight spot. But unexpectedly, her father-in-law's anger suddenly turned towards her. Looks like I always have to clean up the messes, Sia thought to herself before stepping in to explain to her father-in-law. Liam was just playing a part for the cameras. He only has eyes for me. Seeing Sia come to his rescue, the shameless Liam wrapped his arm around her, putting on a show of affection. At Susan's insistence, they had to spend the night at the old house. After showering and drying her hair, Sia came out to find Liam lounging on the bed with a playful look. Since the two had always lived separately, a fight for the bed was about to break out. But Liam played dirty, pinning Sia down on the mattress, under Sia's terrified gaze. Well, let's just skip the next 10,000 words. The next morning, the family was having breakfast. Susan yawned and teased. It must be nice to be young. You were up so late last night but still have so much energy this morning. Her words made Sia blush instantly, certain that their struggle last night must have been so intense it disturbed her mother-in-law's sleep. Just then, her father-in-law spoke up, telling Liam he needed to settle down after causing such a commotion, and that he should move back into their shared villa immediately. Sia, who had been enjoying her solitude, couldn't let that happen. She quickly said, "If Liam doesn't want to, it's okay. I'll go over and take care of him often." She silently prayed that Liam would refuse. To her surprise, Liam said nothing and simply stood up and walked out. His father thought he was disagreeing and yelled after him, but Liam casually turned back and announced he was going to pack his things and move right now. This sudden, terrible news made Sia jump up and run after him. When they arrived at the villa, Liam noticed Sia's strange behavior and a bad feeling crept over him. Sure enough, when he opened the door, he found that everything belonging to him was gone. Faced with Liam's questioning, Sia guiltily explained that she thought he wouldn't be coming back, so she had moved all his things into the storage room. Liam was now furious. "I want all my things back where they belong by the time I'm out of the shower," he said before stalking into the bathroom. Liam stood under the cold water for an eternity, trying to calm his raging heart. When he came out, he saw that Sia had already put everything back and was now working while eating a cup of instant noodles. Under Liam's intense pressure, a reluctant Sia had no choice but to go out and buy groceries to cook for the great man. After Sia left, Liam sipped on the lemonade she had made and idly glanced at her work reports. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. When he opened it, he was surprised to see his rumored celebrity girlfriend, Luna. Before Liam could react, she rushed in and threw her arms around him. The two, who hadn't seen each other for a day, immediately started getting cozy in the living room. Unfortunately, this was the exact moment Sia returned with the groceries. The man, wanting to test his place in his wife's heart, kept pushing his luck, not only getting handsy with his mistress in front of her, but also suggesting a threesome later that night. He wanted to see her reaction, but to his surprise, she completely ignored them, walking past with a calm expression. However, as she passed the coffee table, she noticed her work report had been moved. Without a word, she went to pick it up, but the conniving Luna slammed her hand down on it. "Liam, is this your maid?" she asked haughtily. "Why is she allowed to touch your work documents?" Liam glanced at Sia with a playful smirk. "No," he said slowly. "She's my wife." Luna, who dreamed of becoming Mrs. Lee, wasn't going to miss this opportunity. In front of Sia, she snuggled up to Liam and purred, "Then can I stay and keep you company tonight?" Her suggestion was exactly what Liam wanted. He told her to ask Sia for her opinion. To his surprise, Sia's face was blank. She just told Liam not to mess with her work report and added that if the young lady was staying over, she was a light sleeper, so could they please keep it down. The more unbothered Sia acted, the angrier Liam became. He looked at her with a raised eyebrow. "You don't mind me bringing women home?" Sia simply turned and walked away. "That's your freedom, isn't it?" she replied. She would never forget what he had told her. Never interfere in his business. Liam's face turned cold as he watched her leave. Being ignored like this infuriated him. After Sia went to her bedroom, he lost interest and told Luna to go home. The sudden change left Luna stunned. She pouted. "It's so late, how can I get back? Let me stay with you tonight." By now, Liam had run out of patience. He glared at Luna. "I'll say it one more time. Get out!" His sharp tone sent Luna scrambling out of the villa. After the two-faced woman left, 1,000 thoughts raced through Liam's mind. He walked to Sia's bedroom door. Does this woman really not care at all that I'm with other women? Thinking back, she's never reacted to any of my scandals over the past 2 years. Does she really have no feelings for me at all? He gently pushed the door open and walked up behind Sia. He didn't know why he suddenly cared so much about her feelings for him. Seeing her still focused on her report, Liam suddenly wrapped his arms around her from behind, causing Sia's eyes to widen in shock. Liam gently touched her damp hair. "You'll catch a cold sitting under the AC with wet hair," he said caringly, picking up the hairdryer and thoughtfully beginning to dry her hair for her. Sia sat frozen, wondering why her heart was pounding so hard. Once her hair was dry, Liam leaned in close to her ear and whispered softly, "I like your hair. Let's sleep together tonight." Before Sia could react, he had already made himself comfortable on her bed. Sia pointed at him, telling him to go back to his own room. But Liam started acting like a child. "The AC in my room is broken. It's so hot. Are you trying to make your dear husband die of heat stroke?" Frustrated and reluctant, Sia had no choice but to give in. Lying on the edge of the bed, she stared wide-eyed at the ceiling, feeling uneasy. Although she and Liam had been married for 2 years, the number of nights they had actually slept in the same room could be counted on one hand. As she tossed and turned, she remembered a problem from her report and debated whether to ask him about it. But their current situation felt too awkward. Suddenly, Liam reached out and pulled her into his arms. "Did you want me to hold you?" Sia froze like a startled bird and struggled to get away. But the more she fought, the hotter their bodies became. She quickly changed the subject, asking Liam how he had found the issues in her report. But Liam wasn't playing fair. He told her if she let him hold her while they slept, he would tell her about the report tomorrow. Held tightly against his chest, feeling his 8-pack abs, Sia's face burned. "I'm doing this for the report," she chanted silently. "Not because he's hot." One afternoon, Sia arrived at the Lee Group's headquarters under the scorching sun. Her mother-in-law, hoping to improve their relationship, had asked her to bring Liam lunch, explaining that he had stomach problems and needed someone to make sure he ate regularly. As soon as she walked in, she heard employees gossiping. "The CEO's wife has never come here since they got married. Aren't there rumors that they have a terrible relationship and are about to get divorced?" Meanwhile, Liam was buried in work in his office, looking like he'd rather die than stop making money. When he heard a knock, he assumed it was his assistant Tom, and without looking up, told him to bring in the month's data and forget about lunch. He didn't have time to eat. But when he heard Sia's voice, he froze, an involuntary smile spreading across his face. He quickly got up to take the lunchbox from her, his joy obvious. But when he saw it was takeout, his attitude did a 180. Sia shrugged helplessly. "Sorry, I didn't have time to cook, so you'll have to make do. But the food from this place is really healthy and tastes great." Liam, however, pressed the intercom and told Tom to take Sia to the small kitchen. Sia was shocked that he even had a kitchen in his office. But Liam, who had gone to bed hungry the night before, wasn't about to let her off the hook. He firmly told her it wasn't a request. "With no other choice," Sia muttered under her breath as she left the office for the kitchen. She had barely stepped out the door when she ran into the two-faced Luna. "I should have checked my horoscope today. Why am I so unlucky?" Sia was about to ignore her and walk away, but Luna decided to publicly provoke her. It seemed ignoring her had made her bold. Sia stopped in her tracks and delivered a comeback that left Luna speechless. Luna was baffled. Wasn't this woman supposed to be the unloved wife? Why was she always around Liam lately? As Luna continued to hurl insults at Sia, the commotion outside finally caught Liam's attention. "Shut up!" a voice boomed from behind Luna, startling her. When she saw it was Liam, she immediately put on a pitiful expression and moved toward him, but Liam shoved her away in disgust. Luna assumed Liam was just worried about gossip, since he hadn't cared when she showed up at his house before. She was sure he didn't care about Sia and would take her side. But to everyone's surprise, Liam walked straight past Luna to Sia's side, wrapped his arm around her, and declared to everyone, "Listen carefully. The only Mrs. Lee is Sia. The only woman for me, Liam Lee, is Sia. Do you understand? Then he told his assistant, Tom, not to let that other woman in again. Despite the drama, Liam finally got to eat a meal cooked by Sia. In that moment, Sia had a fleeting vision of a future where she spent the rest of her life with Liam. After leaving Liam's office, Sia was in a great mood. When her assistant asked what she wanted for dinner since they were working late, she announced, for the first time ever, that they weren't working overtime, all because of Liam's parting words, "I'll be home tonight." Never having come home on time before, Sia felt a bit lost. With a rag in one hand and a bottle of cleaner in the other, she decided to deep clean the house. When she got to the study, she was stunned by what she found. She had never been in his study since he moved in and was surprised to see so many books. Noticing a shattered picture frame on the desk, the oblivious Sia tossed it into the trash without a second thought. After cleaning the house, Sia started making dinner. Liam came home as promised and immediately gave her a loving hug before going to the study to put away some files. For a moment, they felt like a normal married couple. Sia savored the sweet moment as she cooked. Suddenly, Liam ran into the kitchen in a panic, asking if she had seen the photo from his desk. When Sia told him she had thrown it in the trash, Liam went ballistic. He shook her violently, yelling at her to never touch his things again. Then he shoved her. By a cruel twist of fate, she stumbled and hit her head on the corner of the table, blood instantly trickling down her forehead. But even seeing this, Liam didn't care. He just turned and left. Heartbroken, Sia went out into the freezing rain and began rummaging through the dumpster. The moment she found the photo, she collapsed to the ground. So it was her. In Liam's heart, she's the one who never fades, and I'm nothing. Just now, Sia had braved the rain to retrieve the photo she had accidentally thrown away for Liam. Seeing her looking so lost and broken was truly heartbreaking. Although Liam apologized, Sia no longer cared. She just wanted them to go back to the terms of their contract and not interfere in each other's lives. After Sia left, Liam stared at the photo in his hand, annoyed. He didn't understand what kind of spell Sia had cast on him. He had always loved Clara, so why did his own heart ache when he saw Sia get hurt? The next evening, Sia met her best friend Chloe at a small bar, planning to drink her sorrows away. When Chloe saw the cut on Sia's forehead, she was instantly distressed. Even though Sia lied and said she had accidentally fallen while cooking, Chloe, who had known her since they were children, wasn't fooled so easily. Chloe downed a shot of strong liquor and demanded, "Did that guy hurt you? He's the only one who could make you get hurt." Exposed, Sia dropped the act and buried her face in Chloe's shoulder, her voice heavy with sadness. "I miss my grandma. I wonder how she's doing back home. I don't even have a chance to go see her now." When you hit rock bottom, there are always one or two people who become your rock, and Chloe was that person for Sia. With Chloe's patient guidance, Sia gradually started to feel better. She realized that only by being happy herself could she ensure her grandmother was happy. The two decided to stop thinking about their troubles, and with each glass they drank, their worries seemed to drift away. Just as they were about to let loose for the night, Sia's phone rang. When she heard that someone at her company was threatening to jump off the building, she sobered up instantly. Sia sped to her company at 80 miles per hour to find a crowd of onlookers gathered and firefighters inflating an airbag below. Her frantic assistant told her that the person on the roof was Jessica Wu, who claimed that a company product had ruined her skin and was now threatening suicide. Putting in her earpiece, Sia told her assistant to feed her all of Jessica's information over the phone while she went to the roof to talk her down. Despite Chloe's desperate pleas for her not to go, Sia ran up without a second thought. The higher she climbed, the more she trembled. Sia had a severe fear of heights, but the company's survival was at stake, and it was her responsibility to step up. Overcoming her fear, she reached the rooftop and saw the woman. However, Jessica became extremely agitated when she saw someone approaching. To keep Jessica from losing control, Sia quickly introduced herself and said they could talk about whatever was bothering her. But Jessica leaned back and screamed, "What's there to talk about? My face is ruined, my husband left me because of it, and now I have nothing." Just then, her assistant's voice came through the earpiece. Director Jessica Wu was a famous actress. She retired after marrying her husband Daniel Chen, but now he's having an affair. With this background information, Sia began to form a plan. First, she slowly approached, explaining that even if Jessica jumped today, it wouldn't affect Serene Cosmetics at all because the company had already recalled all the face masks, and every test had come back clear. Secondly, she added, if you really jump today, Daniel Chen and that other woman can be together without any guilt, enjoying the life that should have been yours. Sia's words clearly made Jessica hesitate. Seizing the opportunity, Sia rushed forward and pulled her back from the edge. Jessica looked at Sia, confused. She didn't understand how Sia knew about her husband's affair. At this point, Sia quickly apologized, explaining that she had accidentally stumbled upon the information while looking into the situation. Jessica was devastated to realize that everyone had known about her husband's affair while she had been kept in the dark. Seeing that Jessica was no longer in immediate danger, Sia breathed a sigh of relief. But looking at her utterly defeated expression, Sia couldn't help but take her hand. "The company has carefully analyzed your skin report, and there are no issues," she said confidently. "If you trust me, I'm willing to help you." Although Sia said this, Jessica pulled her hand away. She thought it was impossible. After all, doctors had told her that her face was beyond repair. She assumed Sia was just saying this to protect Serene's reputation, but Sia grabbed her hand again, looking at her sincerely. "Don't you want to make a comeback and return to the glamorous spotlight? And what about the husband you stood by for 5 years? Are you just going to give up and hand everything over to someone else?" Hearing Sia's words, a spark ignited in Jessica's eyes. She wiped away her tears and told Sia with newfound confidence, "You're right. If I can recover, I can definitely win his heart back." After everything was settled, an exhausted Sia collapsed to the ground. Just as she was struggling to stand, she was suddenly swept up into a princess carry. When she saw who it was, she was completely shocked. The next morning, after a tumultuous night, Sia still hadn't gotten her fill of drinks. As soon as she got to the office, she instructed her assistant to schedule daily facial rehabilitation sessions for Jessica Wu during her lunch break. Even though the investigation showed the company was not at fault, Sia was determined to keep her promise and help heal her face using her own break time. She then handed a report to her assistant, telling her to monitor public opinion on the matter and to notify her immediately of any negative press. However, her assistant suddenly held up her phone to Sia. Liam had bought out every news outlet that had reported on the suicide attempt. Sia was flabbergasted by this power move. It seemed being rich was really something. But thinking about coming down from the rooftop last night, a wave of exhaustion and helplessness washed over her. She really didn't want to be indebted to Liam, but it seemed the debt was only growing. Sia's mind was in turmoil, one part of her wanting to bang her head against the wall, the other wanting to dance. She felt completely muddled. Finally, she picked up the phone and asked Liam if he was free that evening. Hearing Sia proactively ask him out, he couldn't help but tease her. Sia quickly realized that Liam was becoming more and more flirtatious, taking every opportunity to poke fun at her. "Are you free or not?" she said, exasperated. "If you are, let's have dinner after work. If not, forget it." Having gotten the reaction he wanted, Liam dropped his playful tone and quickly agreed. After hanging up, Liam stared at his phone. It seemed Sia really didn't want to owe him anything. Although he initially wanted nothing to do with this woman, it felt like fate kept pushing them together. He couldn't help but want to get closer to her. What kind of heart was hidden beneath her cold exterior? That evening, they met at the hotel as planned. It seemed both of them were taking this first date very seriously. Just as they were about to enter, Sia suddenly said, "Don't you think that if we weren't married, we could have been friends?" As soon as she said it, Liam stopped in his tracks. Sia thought she had struck a chord with him, but Liam turned and grabbed her wrist. "Sia, we will never be friends, do you understand? You are my wife, Liam Lee's wife. Why would I want to be friends with you?" Sia was taken aback by his strong reaction. "We're only in a contract marriage," she explained cautiously. "Your behavior seems to be violating the contract." But Liam just let go of her hand, his voice low. "Because now I want to take our marriage to the next level." With that, he turned and walked away without looking back, leaving a stunned Sia standing there alone. Watching his sports car speed away, Sia felt a sense of helplessness. "I'm really not good at this relationship stuff. I should just focus on work." In the following days, Sia threw herself into work, completely forgetting about Liam. Late one night in the office, she was still working overtime when her phone rang. Seeing it was her mother-in-law, she answered cautiously. As expected, her mother-in-law had gone to the villa to check on them and was urging Sia to come home, saying she had made soup for her. Over the phone, she could hear Liam in the background, complaining that Sia hadn't been home lately, leaving him all alone in an empty house. Hearing this, Sia wanted to fly home immediately and shut him up. Although she had been working overtime, she had come home every day. In fact, it was Liam who hadn't been home recently. After hanging up, Sia quickly packed her things and rushed home. The moment she walked in, she saw Liam sitting alone in the living room. After learning that her mother-in-law was already asleep, Sia immediately took out her documents and laptop to continue working. Even when Liam brought the soup to her, she took the bowl without looking up, drank it, and handed it back to him. After cleaning up, Liam couldn't stand watching Sia work at a snail's pace any longer. He pushed her aside and said, "You read the info, I'll type." Sia watched in amazement as Liam's fingers flew across the keyboard. "Wow, you're so fast!" she exclaimed. Liam suddenly stopped, leaned in close to her ear and whispered, "I don't like that compliment. You should say, 'Honey, you're amazing.'" Before Liam could finish the spreadsheet, Sia had already fallen fast asleep. Looking at her expression, it seemed her dreams weren't very pleasant. After finishing the work, the CEO gently picked up his young wife, gazed at her lovingly, and quietly carried her to the bedroom. The next morning, Sia shot up in bed. She'd had a nightmare about a giant fat dragon chasing and trying to kiss her, which had scared her half to death. She reached over to the other side of the bed and found it was still warm. It seemed Liam had slept with her last night. After getting ready, she went to the living room and found a sticky note on her laptop. It was a message from Liam saying he was working late tonight. This move left Sia a little speechless. Before she could process it, she received a call from her stepmother, Ms. White. As soon as she answered, she heard her stepmother's sarcastic voice. "You haven't forgotten that tomorrow is your father's birthday, have you? Bring Liam home with you for the party." Sia never had a good attitude towards this woman. "Dad never told me. Don't you think it's ridiculous to ask if I remember? Besides, the real point is to bring Liam home, right?" Sia's tone nearly made Ms. White faint. She launched into a lecture, but Sia wasn't having it and hung up on her. Still, since it was her father's birthday, she knew if she didn't go, people would talk. As for whether to tell Liam, Sia agonized over it all morning. Finally, she decided to call him. Whether he went or not, it was better to let him know. To her astonishment, the person who answered the phone was Luna. Sia instantly cursed Liam's ancestors under her breath. When Sia asked the woman to tell Liam about his father-in-law's birthday party tomorrow and ask if he was going, the shameless mistress flatly refused, telling Sia that Liam was busy with her tomorrow and had no time to go. This almost made Sia pass out from anger. She quickly hung up, afraid she would lose her temper and start cursing right there in the office. After Sia hung up, Luna promptly deleted the call history. She then smiled smugly, imagining the scene of Sia attending her own father's birthday party alone. The great Mrs. Lee is about to become a laughingstock, isn't she? Just as she was gloating, Liam's voice startled her. She quickly put the phone down and went to greet him. Knowing that Liam had been annoyed with her lately, she quickly explained that she was there because a friend was throwing a party and had asked her to pick him up. Although Liam wasn't thrilled to see Luna, he knew he had to maintain connections with his social circle. Since he had no other plans for the evening, he agreed to go. However, his assistant Tom reminded him, "Sir, tomorrow is your father-in-law's birthday banquet. Many people have been invited." This reminder made Luna nearly wet her pants. She quickly made an excuse that she had something else to do and scurried away, terrified of being exposed on the spot. It wasn't until Liam showed up at the bar that Luna cautiously peeked out, relieved that she hadn't been found out. But Liam was distracted, constantly checking his phone. "Sia still hasn't messaged me. Is she planning to go to the banquet alone?" He ignored Luna even when she tried to cuddle up to him. Growing more and more irritated, the CEO decided he had to teach his young wife a lesson and make her realize she had a husband. Does she think she's single or widowed? How could she forget her own husband for a banquet like this? He pushed the annoying woman beside him away, drained his glass, and stood up. "I won't be drinking with you all tonight. My tab. After all, I'm a married man. If I get home too late, my wife will be upset." Meanwhile, after a long day, Sia finally got home. She had just stepped inside without turning on the lights when someone grabbed her from behind, causing her to panic and struggle. Even after Liam identified himself, Sia paused for a moment before continuing to fight. Smelling the alcohol on him, she snapped, "Let go of me. If you're drunk, go find another woman to take care of you. Don't bother me." Her words completely infuriated the CEO. Fueled by the alcohol, Liam pinned her against the wall, determined to make her recognize her place. Due to their miscommunication the night before, Sia ended up going to her father's birthday party alone. The moment she entered, dressed in a gorgeous gown, she caused a stir. Her stepmother, Ms. White, rushed over with a smile, but when she saw Sia was alone, her face instantly darkened and she called Sia useless. Sia leaned in and whispered for her to speak a little louder, reminding her that it would be the Stone family's face she'd be embarrassing. As they say, birds of a feather flock together. Ms. White wasn't done yet when a blonde woman approached Sia, seeing she was alone. The woman feigned a friendly chat, the scent of fake friendship thick enough to smell from a mile away. However, as Mrs. Lee, Sia was the center of attention at the banquet, and more people came up to talk to her. Since she had come alone, everyone was curious why Liam hadn't come. After Sia managed to explain it away, the crowd finally stopped asking. But then the blonde woman announced loudly that she had seen Liam at a bar the day before. Did he not come today because he stayed out too late last night? Sia wasn't going to let such a blatant jab slide. "You seem to know more about my husband's whereabouts than I do." Just as Sia finished speaking, a familiar, commanding voice came from behind her. Liam appeared at her side and wrapped an arm around her. But when he saw how revealing her dress was, his jealousy flared. "Do you need to dress so provocatively for a birthday party? You're a married woman, how can you wear something like this?" He immediately took off his jacket and put it over her shoulders. When the other guests saw Liam arrive, their eyes lit up. Disregarding the fact that his wife was right there, they started making eyes at him. Some even pulled their own dresses down a little lower, trying to show off more skin, and asked Sia, "Didn't you just say Mr. Lee wasn't coming today? I would have touched up my makeup if I'd known." To save Sia from embarrassment, Liam quickly explained, "It was my fault. I accidentally made my wife angry last night, so she came to the party without me. Can you forgive me for working so hard to make it up to her?" Sia wanted nothing to do with this actor, whose few words had successfully painted him as a devoted husband, making all the fangirls swoon. With the man of the hour present, Mr. and Mrs. Stone hurried over to greet him. Liam wished his father-in-law a happy birthday, explaining he was late due to traffic. Ms. White was practically glued to Liam's side, her two-faced act making Sia sick to her stomach. After some conversation, Ms. White shamelessly took Sia's hand, acting like a loving mother who wanted to have a private word. Once they were in a secluded spot, her facade dropped. She handed Sia a contract and told her to have Liam help with it. In her eyes, since Liam seemed to love Sia so much and was the Stone family's son-in-law, a small favor like this would be no problem. However, Sia took the contract but didn't budge. She refused to be a tool for the Stone family to curry favor with Liam. Despite Ms. White's nagging and threats, Sia stood her ground. When Ms. White insulted the grandmother who had raised her, Sia tore the contract to pieces and threw it in her face. This completely enraged Ms. White, who raised her hand to slap Sia. But just as her hand was about to connect, it was caught by a strong grip. She turned to see it was Liam. Seeing Liam, Sia said nothing and walked away. Liam was already well aware of the Stone family's situation. Watching Sia's sad and lonely figure retreat, he felt like he was beginning to understand the source of her pain. After warning Ms. White, Liam quickly left to find Sia. Ms. White now understood just how important Sia was to Liam. Offending her would surely bring trouble. The moment Sia ran out of the venue, tears began to stream down her face. As she had suspected, she was just a tool for them to gain wealth and status for the Stone family. Suddenly, Liam's voice came from behind her. "Stop crying, you look really ugly when you cry." He was truly a man of no tact. His attempts at comforting words always came out wrong. Liam gently wiped the tears from her eyes and asked if the argument had been about her. At that moment, Sia's tears flowed uncontrollably, and all her pent-up grievances burst forth. Liam pulled her into his arms, and his broad chest gave her a sense of security. Once she had calmed down a bit, she quietly asked him to take her home. Looking at his heartbroken wife beside him, he thought, "She's clearly a soft woman, yet she insists on pretending to be invincible. She must be so tired." By the time they got home, the emotionally exhausted Sia had already fallen asleep in the car. Liam carefully carried her out, walked slowly to the bedroom, laid her on the bed, and gently covered her with a blanket. Sia groggily opened her eyes and asked if they were home. Liam looked at her with doting eyes and said they were. "Don't think about anything right now. Just get a good night's sleep and everything will be better when you wake up." Sia nodded slightly, closed her eyes, and drifted off to a peaceful sleep. The morning sun shone on Sia's face. Feeling fully refreshed, she stretched her arms, realizing she hadn't slept that well in a long time. However, as she opened the door to go wash up, she was startled by the sight before her. Liam was hunched over, trembling, standing right outside her door. Sia rushed to support him, realizing his stomach condition was acting up again. With Sia's help, Liam managed to make it to the sofa. Sia quickly searched the house for stomach medicine. After she gave him the medicine, Liam laid his head on her lap and refused to get up, claiming that leaning on her would help him get better faster. Seeing that he was sick, Sia decided not to argue with him, but he became more and more outrageous, his hands wandering, and demanding kisses. When Sia refused, he forcefully wrapped his arms around her neck and kissed her. He didn't seem sick at all. Sia quickly scrambled away from his grasp, wiping her kissed lips. Her face flushed as she announced she was going to make porridge. Seeing her shy and adorable appearance, Liam chuckled to himself like a naughty child who had succeeded in a prank. It seems Sia has no resistance to the weak. Soon, Sia brought the porridge to Liam, but he started acting coquettish, claiming his hands were too weak and he needed her to feed him. Seeing him so clingy, Sia sighed in exasperation. He had the strength of a tiger when he was kissing her just now, but suddenly he had no energy. Having no other choice, Sia sat down and fed him, reminding him to eat on time and take care of his stomach in the future. But Liam casually replied, "It's fine, you'll always be by my side." Sia lowered her head and reminded him, "You know our situation best. I can't be with you forever. One day, you'll meet someone you truly love, and she will be with you forever." Before she could finish, Liam grabbed her wrist, his voice filled with emotion. "Sia, are you so sure that the person I love isn't you?" He squeezed her wrist so tightly, his strength was nothing like that of a sick person. Was he playing possum? Liam instantly felt guilty and collapsed back onto the sofa. "I'm not better yet. I'm in so much pain." Seeing his clumsy acting, Sia was utterly speechless. As soon as she got to the office, her assistant asked for the design drafts. But because Liam had been so clingy at home the day before, she hadn't had any time to work on them. Sia reluctantly said they weren't quite finished and told her assistant to ask again tomorrow. Sitting at her desk, Sia stared at the thick pile of documents with a sense of helplessness. It's all because Liam suddenly got sick and delayed everything. I wonder if he's feeling any better. She took out her phone and hesitated, unsure whether to send him a message. After a long internal struggle, she finally sent it. After hitting send, her conflicted expression was a sight to see. Suddenly, a colleague burst in, panicking, and told Sia that a group of people had come to cause trouble. Consumers were complaining that the new facial cleanser was priced too high, saying a domestic brand wasn't worth that much. Sia knew this situation wouldn't be easily resolved. She immediately asked for the product's detailed information. After a thorough review, Sia suspected these weren't ordinary consumers, but likely people sent by a rival company. But whether they were real consumers or plants, this PR crisis had to be handled quickly. By now, a huge crowd had gathered outside the company, and various media outlets had arrived. Unfazed, Sia walked into the crowd and declared that she was the director of Serene Pearl's parent company and would answer all their questions about the cleanser. The moment she finished speaking, the young man leading the group started stirring up trouble, making it obvious he was there to cause problems. In response to their questions, Sia responsibly told the crowd, "Our product is not expensive. Its effectiveness is worth the price. Being a domestic brand doesn't mean it's cheap. We insist on using the best ingredients." No matter how sincerely she explained, someone always questioned her. An idea sparked in her mind. Since words weren't enough, she would prove it with actions. She scanned the crowd and found a representative-looking female reporter, asking her to try the product on the spot. Under Sia's personal application, the reporter's skin instantly became smooth and elastic. After using it, the tightness in her originally sensitive skin disappeared. The effect was obvious. With the reporter's enthusiastic endorsement, the PR crisis instantly turned into a product promotion event. Her remarkable ability earned her the admiration of the crowd. Although the immediate issue was resolved, the cost of the raw materials was indeed a bit high. She told her assistant to schedule a meeting with the marketing department for the afternoon. After making all the arrangements, a colleague informed her that her stepmother, Ms. White, was waiting for her in the office. A sense of foreboding washed over her as she cautiously walked towards her office. As soon as she opened the door, a book flew at her, hitting her square on the forehead. Sia barely flinched. She closed the door and sternly scolded, "Are you crazy? Throwing a tantrum like this at the office? Do you want everyone to see you make a fool of yourself?" But the shameless Ms. White twisted the facts. "Sia, you useless girl. Look at all the trouble you've caused since you came to this company, from suicide attempts to quality issues." Sia couldn't be bothered to argue with her. But Ms. White escalated, "A harlot's daughter, what right do you have to be so arrogant? You make messes and expect others to clean them up for you." Sia had no desire to engage with someone like Ms. White, and opened the door, asking her to leave. But the more Sia dismissed her, the angrier she got. "Sia, I am your father's wife, if it weren't for—" Before she could finish, Sia's expression turned ice cold. "But you are not my mother." Just as Sia finished speaking, a familiar voice came from behind her. Seeing Liam arrive, Ms. White's attitude did a 360-degree turn. But Liam knew her character all too well. He took Sia's hand and led her straight out. The feeling of Liam holding her hand made Sia feel incredibly secure. After they got in the car, Liam carefully applied a cold compress to her forehead. Curious about what had just happened, Liam asked Sia about it. He had noticed since the birthday party that Ms. White did not treat Sia like a mother would her daughter. At this point, Sia no longer hid the truth. She told him everything about her past. "Mr. Stone is my father, but Ms. White is not my mother. My real mother passed away." Liam finally understood. Sia's avoidance of intimacy was due to her family background. Just as Sia finished and was about to get out of the car, Liam suddenly grabbed her arm. "No matter what your status is in the Stone family," he said sincerely, "you are Mrs. Lee." Hearing Liam's sincere declaration, Sia smiled warmly. For some reason, her heart was filled with a sense of happiness. One problem was solved, but another quickly arose. Just after Liam left, before she even got back to her office, Sia received a call from the mistress, Luna. "Sia, I need to see you this afternoon. 2 o'clock, Left Bank Cafe. I need to talk to you about Liam." Before Sia could respond, Luna hung up. Her entitled tone left Sia baffled, but she was curious to see what kind of game Luna was playing. At 2 p.m., Sia arrived at the cafe on time. The moment they met, Luna threw a bank card on the table and told Sia to leave Liam. Sia looked at her as if she were a fool. Isn't this the kind of scene where the wife confronts the mistress? Why is it reversed in my case? Picking up the bank card, Sia played with it thoughtfully. "Miss Luna, is there a few 100,000 or a few million in this card? Think about it. Do you really think Mrs. Lee's status is worth so little? Why would I give up Liam for this amount of money? The mistress's logic was bizarre and unpredictable. She now took the moral high ground, accusing Sia of being with Liam only for his money. Her righteous act was so convincing, you'd think she was the real wife. Sia had no patience for this kind of person. It was a waste of brain cells. She stood up, stared into the mistress's ignorant eyes, and warned her sharply not to be too greedy. Just as Sia was about to leave, Luna suddenly grabbed her. Before Sia could react, the mistress threw herself down the stairs. Sia was about to go help her, when a group of reporters suddenly swarmed her, bombarding her with sharp questions about Luna's fall. Although Sia knew this was Luna's doing, being suddenly questioned by so many people left her at a loss for words. Seeing Sia surrounded, Luna put on a pitiful expression. I don't know how I offended her, but she just pushed me down. Her tearful act instantly painted Sia as a cruel and malicious woman. Just as Sia was being pushed and questioned by the uninformed crowd, a loud "make way" echoed through the group. Liam pushed through the people and pulled Sia into his arms. The moment she saw him, Sia felt a wave of relief, but the reporters immediately swarmed him, asking why he was there and if he was trying to cover for his wife. Liam had no patience for these brainless reporters. I have no obligation to answer your questions. If you are journalists, please show me your press credentials. If you can't, I'm calling the police. The leaders of the group were immediately intimidated by Liam. They knew his reputation for being ruthless and didn't dare to cross him. But as Liam instructed his men to take Luna to the hospital, a pool of blood on the floor caught his attention. He had seen the whole thing when Luna fell. Her stomach hadn't hit anything sharp. So why was there so much blood? Seeing her plan was about to be exposed, Luna quickly tried to make an excuse. But Liam wasn't going to be easily fooled. He snatched a blood bag from her. It was now clear that she had staged the entire thing. The onlookers who had been so quick to judge now understood the truth. They began to murmur among themselves, pointing at Luna. She's an actress, all right. Her performance was Oscar-worthy, trying to break up a marriage and framing the wife. After everything was settled, they left the cafe. Sia was curious as to how Liam had shown up so suddenly. Liam stopped walking and Sia bumped into his chest. I was on my way back when I remembered I hadn't given you the pain patch for your forehead, so I came to bring it to you, he explained. I didn't expect you to be out running around instead of staying in the office, so I had to ask around to find you. As he spoke, he carefully applied the patch to her forehead. The two of them walked back to the office chatting. For some reason, their lives were becoming more and more intertwined, just like a loving couple. The next morning, Sia arrived at the office to find a birthday gift from her friend, Chloe. When her young assistant saw the red roses, she assumed they were from the CEO, and gushed about how amazing Sia was, showering her with compliments. However, when Sia asked about the facial cleanser supplier she had scheduled a meeting with, the assistant's face fell. I scheduled it, but Mr. Ford wants to meet at 6 p.m. at the Mystique bar, and he said you have to come alone. I'm worried he has bad intentions. But Sia, unaware of the dangers, was fearless. This is a civilized society, and I'm Mrs. Lee. Who would dare to harm me? When Sia arrived at the Mystique bar, she was taken aback by the loud, decadent atmosphere. In her mind, a bar was a place with elegant music and sophisticated cocktails. This was her first time in such a wild place, but she had to brave it for the sake of the company. The moment Sia opened the door to the private room, the supplier, a large man named Mr. Ford, was captivated by her stunning beauty. As soon as Sia sat down, she got straight to business. But Mr. Ford picked up a glass of wine and came up behind her, saying smoothly, "It's our first time meeting. Isn't it a bit boring to talk about work right away?" Although Sia was reluctant for the company's sake, she took the glass and downed it in one go. After the drink, Sia's face was slightly flushed, and she exuded a tempting fragrance. Mr. Ford, who had been fantasizing about her, couldn't control himself any longer and started to get handsy. Even if Sia was naive, she knew things were getting out of hand. She stood up to leave, but Mr. Ford was prepared and wasn't about to let her escape. Two bodyguards stood grinning at the door, and Mr. Ford closed in behind her, saying that if she just gave a little today, he would agree to any terms in the contract. Then he tried to force her onto the sofa. The more Sia struggled, the more excited he became. Just as he was about to assault her, Sia delivered a swift kick to his groin. With a sharp crack, Mr. Ford collapsed to the ground in pain, but as Sia tried to escape, she was blocked by the two large men. Desperate, she screamed for help, hoping someone would hear her. But the thumping music of the bar drowned out her cries. Just as she was beginning to lose hope, the door was suddenly kicked open. It was her old schoolmate, Julian. The moment she saw him, Sia felt like she had been thrown a lifeline and quickly ran to his side. Julian made short work of the three men, taking them down with ease. Seeing Julian getting carried away, Sia quickly stopped him, remembering he was a taekwondo champion. She didn't want this to turn into a homicide. Still, she was incredibly grateful to him. If it weren't for him, she would have been humiliated today. In fact, Julian had spotted Sia the moment she entered the bar and had been keeping an eye on her. Otherwise, how could he have so coincidentally heard her cries for help in such a noisy environment? Feeling disheveled after the ordeal, Sia promised to treat Julian to dinner next time, and quickly left, claiming she had work to do. As she fled the bar, her heart was still pounding. She caught her reflection in a shop window and couldn't help but laugh at how pathetic she looked. She never imagined her birthday would be so disastrous. But there's one quick way for a woman to lift her spirits. Sia walked up to a designer boutique and dove in. A buy spree instantly made her feel much better. With her mood restored, Sia arrived back at her company building to see her young assistant running towards her frantically. She hadn't been able to reach Sia by phone, and knowing Mr. Ford's reputation, was extremely worried about her safety. Seeing that Sia was all right, she gave her a hand-woven lucky bracelet she had made, hoping it would bring Sia good fortune. Back at the office, Sia stretched and looked out at the moon. This has been a disastrous birthday, but it's almost over. Surely nothing else can go wrong. Suddenly, the roar of a car engine echoed from below. Looking out the window, Sia saw a limited edition supercar parked downstairs. Before she could get a closer look, her phone rang. It was Liam. He told her to come down. Sia then realized that the car belonged to him. When she got downstairs, she saw Liam leaning against the luxury car with an air of coolness. When he saw her, he presented her with a bouquet of 999 roses. "Happy birthday, Sia." Sia was completely surprised. She had no idea Liam knew her birthday. After a day full of ups and downs, this sudden gesture moved her deeply. To thank him, she stood on her tiptoes and kissed him. But the CEO, wanting more, wrapped his arm around her slim waist and kissed her passionately on the busy street for what felt like half an hour. After a night of making up, a radiant and energetic Sia walked into her office the next morning. Her assistant excitedly told her that Mr. Ford had been arrested by the police. Someone had reported his company for faking materials and failing quality inspections. Sia felt a sense of satisfaction, thinking he got what he deserved for what he did to her yesterday. But now they had to find a new supplier. Before Sia could even finish her sentence, the general manager came in and told her not to bother. This morning, a Japanese raw material supplier, SG Corporation, offered to partner with us. Their headquarters will be sending someone over to finalize the contract later. Looking at the contract in her hands, Sia felt like she was floating. Why were so many good things happening today? Soon, Sia had signed the contract with the SG representative. However, she was still curious as to why SG suddenly wanted to partner with Serene. The representative just gave some generic, polite answers and didn't give her the real reason. Just as she was seeing the SG representative out, she got a call from Liam, asking her to accompany him to a party that night. This was the first time Liam had ever asked her to go with him, and she felt a small thrill of anticipation. Despite the roller coaster of the previous day, today was filled with good news. Sia was overjoyed. She hugged her assistant and told her she was treating her to a full day of shopping and food. After an afternoon of careful preparation, Sia arrived at the party looking stunning. The moment they entered, the handsome couple became the center of attention. Sia was very pleased with the dress and makeup her assistant had chosen. In her excitement, she completely forgot she was on her period and downed a glass of wine. The pain hit her so hard she nearly fainted, but someone next to her caught her. When she looked up to thank the person, she was surprised to see it was her old schoolmate, Julian. But before they could say a word, Liam pulled her away, his voice laced with jealousy as he asked who Julian was. His possessiveness was so strong that Sia quickly introduced them. By now, Sia was in so much pain she was covered in a cold sweat and trembling. Both men asked what was wrong. After thanking Julian, Sia had Liam help her to a quiet corner to rest. Her face was growing paler and she felt incredibly cold. But not wanting to interfere with Liam's networking at the party, she insisted she was fine and asked him to get her a cup of hot water. Just then, a commotion erupted at the party. Someone shouted, "The famous actress Clara has arrived!" Sia's eyes widened. "Clara? Liam's first love. I can't believe she's here too." Hearing that Clara had arrived, Liam completely forgot about the ailing Sia and walked straight towards her. Watching his determined back, Sia finally understood. In Liam's heart, there had only ever been one person, Clara. Without caring about the gossip, he resolutely swept Sia into his arms and, under the astonished gazes of the other guests, carried her to his car and rushed to the hospital. After some initial treatment from the doctor, Sia started to feel a bit better. Holding her test results, Julian relayed the doctor's instructions to her. Sia already knew she couldn't have cold drinks or alcohol during her period. She had just been too excited today and had completely forgotten. Seeing that she was stable, Julian drove Sia home to rest. The car ride was silent for a while. Julian looked at Sia, who was gazing out the window. and thought about her test results with mixed feelings. Perhaps feeling his stare, Sia broke the awkward silence. "Julian, how much was the checkup today? I'll transfer you the money later." Hearing this, Julian couldn't help but laugh. She was still the same as ever, never wanting to owe anyone anything. When the car stopped in front of her villa, Julian looked at the stoic Sia and expressed his anger at Liam's behavior that night. To his surprise, Sia was incredibly calm, saying she understood why Liam would react that way now that Clara was back. Even though she acted so nonchalant, Julian, coming from a similar wealthy family, knew how tragic her situation was. Julian naturally took Sia's hand and asked if she had ever thought about divorce. For Sia, from the beginning to the end of this marriage, she had never been the one in control. She quickly pulled her hand away and got out of the car, not wanting to discuss the topic further. Given their past, Sia decided it was best to keep a certain distance from Julian. However, ever since seeing no history of sexual activity on Sia's report, Julian had decided to take a chance. After all, he had always loved her and never changed. From his car, he called out a confession of love to her, retreating back. But Sia walked through the gate without looking back. Returning to a dark, empty house, Sia's heart sank once again. But when she turned on the lights, she was startled to see Liam sitting on the sofa, his presence sending a shiver down her spine. Before she could recover, Liam sharply questioned where she had been. His question ignited her anger. She threw the medicine from the hospital onto the table and retorted, "I wasn't feeling well. Julian took me to the hospital." Noticing the edge in her voice and remembering his actions that night, Liam felt a pang of guilt. He asked if she was feeling better and offered to get her a glass of hot water. But before he could finish, his phone rang. Seeing it was his first love, Clara, he answered without hesitation. Hearing that Clara was in some kind of emergency, the scumbag instantly forgot about Sia, grabbed his coat, and ran out the door. With the slam of the door, the last glimmer of hope in Sia's heart was extinguished. "Clara is back. It's time for me to step aside. Maybe divorce is the best ending for us." The next morning, a disheveled and sleepy Sia opened her bedroom door, find surprisingly that Liam hadn't left for work yet and had even prepared breakfast. When he saw her, he told her to eat and that he would drive her to the office. Liam still felt a little guilty about what had happened the night before. However, Sia had been up all night thinking and had finally decided to keep her distance from him. Once the contract was up, she would divorce him. So, she politely declined his offer of a ride. During the meal, Liam apologized for his behavior the previous night, but at this point, Sia couldn't care less. She raised her water glass in a toast. "Congratulations on your first love's return. You should cherish the opportunity." For some reason, the calmer Sia was, the more unsettled Liam felt. As soon as Sia stepped outside, she found Julian waiting for her. He opened his car door and said he was heading her way and could give her a ride to work. Sia didn't overthink it. Her own car was at the office, so why not? However, this entire scene was witnessed by Liam from the window. He mistakenly thought this was the real reason she had refused his ride. Furious, he yanked the curtains shut, his face dark with anger. He could do as he pleased, but she was held to a different standard. He could openly flirt with his first love, but Sia's actions were seen as disloyal. What a double standard. When she got to the office, her phone rang before she could even sit down. It was her friend Chloe calling so early. Sia answered, confused, only to be met with Chloe's frantic shouting, "Sia, I'm dealing with a psycho! I'm at Linen Hospital! You have to come save me!" After hanging up, Sia sprinted to the hospital. When she found Chloe, she quickly gave her a once-over to make sure she was okay. Only then did she learn from Chloe that the man in the hat behind her needed a shot for his cold, but he claimed he was afraid of needles, so she just went ahead and gave him the shot anyway. Hearing this, Sia couldn't help but chuckle. This was exactly the kind of thing the impulsive Chloe would do. But now Chloe was facing a complaint from the man. She had just finished her internship and it was her first official day. A complaint now could ruin everything. Sia quickly comforted her friend and went to handle the situation herself, confident in her powers of persuasion. When Sia approached the man and greeted him, he looked up and stared at her, his eyes wide. He then excitedly stood up and called out her name. Seeing that she didn't recognize him, the man quickly tried to jog her memory. "It's me, Leo. I graduated from the same university as you. I joined the student council my freshman year, and you were the one who interviewed me. Am I really that forgettable?" Sia quickly searched her memory and recalled him. He was the heartthrob from the art department. Since they knew each other, this would be easier to handle. Sia explained that she was Chloe's friend and hoped he could forgive Chloe on her account. Since his goddess had spoken, Leo was more than happy to comply. Sia was surprised he agreed so readily, leaving her with a whole prepared speech stuck in her throat. Although the misunderstanding was cleared up, Chloe and Leo were like a pair of bickering rivals, constantly at each other's throats. Sia had to mediate to keep them from starting a fight. Just as Sia was struggling to keep the peace, her phone rang. After answering, she received new instructions from Liam, which meant her plan to treat the two rivals to a meal was off. But as Sia was leaving, Leo grabbed her arm. "Wait, can I get your contact information? I promise I won't bother you." Looking at his infatuated expression, Sia had her doubts about that promise. After leaving Chloe, Sia returned to her company building to find Liam leaning against his car, looking down at his phone. When he saw her, they drove to the Lee family's estate. Today, the second young master of the Lee family was returning from abroad, and their mother had specifically told them to come home for dinner. As they reached the entrance of the estate, Liam pulled Sia into his arms. The intimate gesture made her uncomfortable. The more she struggled, the tighter he held her. Resigned, Sia had no choice but to let him. The moment they walked in, their mother came to greet them and called for Leo to come out and meet his sister-in-law. When Leo saw Sia, he was completely stunned. The goddess he had admired for so long was now his brother's wife. He was filled with regret, wishing he had never gone to America, which had allowed his goddess to become his brother's woman. Seeing Leo's reaction, their mother looked at them, confused. Sia quickly explained that she was Leo's senior from university. Leo chimed in, saying that Sia was the super classy senior he used to talk about all the time, and now she was his sister-in-law. The three of them chatted and laughed, completely ignoring Liam, but he had heard enough to understand that the woman Leo had always liked was Sia. From the moment they arrived, the two had been talking non-stop, their laughter echoing through the house. When their conversation turned to work, they discovered that the skincare brand Leo was currently endorsing was actually Sia's company's product. This led to a deeper discussion about skincare, and Leo grew bolder, even touching her arm. Liam watched them, gritting his teeth and occasionally making sarcastic comments. Leo had a concert at their university next week and invited Sia to come. Sia agreed without a second thought. Just then, their mother called them for dinner, but Liam turned and walked towards the bedroom instead. The feeling of being ignored infuriated him. He was too angry to eat. Seeing Liam leave, their mother worried about his stomach condition and asked Sia to bring him some of the chicken soup she had made. Sia assured her that she would make sure he drank it all. Sia brought the soup to the study, set it down, and told him that their mother was worried about his stomach and insisted he finish it. Then she turned to leave. But Liam suddenly stopped her and asked how she and Leo had met. At the mention of this, Sia couldn't help but smile. She casually explained that they had met at school. Seeing her smile, Liam's jealousy flared. "Doesn't Sia know that Leo likes her?" Sia continued, telling him about their first meeting. She had seen Leo standing in the rain, so she gave him her umbrella and shared one with a friend back to the dorm. After hearing her story, Liam's suspicions were confirmed. Sia was the girl Leo had kept hidden in his heart all this time. Overcome with jealousy, Liam snapped, "Are you always this friendly to other men? First a senior, now a junior? Sia, you need to remember that you are my wife, and you need to keep your distance from other men." After his outburst, the sulking Liam sat in his chair like a petulant child and told Sia to take the soup away. Sia couldn't be bothered with this jealous and unreasonable man. To his surprise, she picked up the bowl of soup and drank it all herself. Seeing his soup gone, Liam lost his composure. He stood up, wrapped his arms around Sia's slim waist, and demanded to know why she had drunk his soup. Before Sia could explain, the shameless Liam pulled her into a passionate kiss that lasted for what felt like half an hour, nearly leaving Sia breathless. When he finally pulled away, he even had the audacity to complain that she was a bad kisser. Sia frantically wiped her mouth. The triumphant Liam smugly said, "Don't blame me. It was my mom's soup, after all. I had to at least taste it, right?" Faced with such a twisted argument, Sia was utterly speechless. Her heart pounding, she quickly fled the room. Sia, who had just escaped from the study, was panting heavily. That scoundrel Liam was always so unpredictable. Because she had been upstairs for so long, her mother-in-law had gotten curious and was about to go look for her. When she saw Sia standing dazed at the top of the stairs, she called out to her. Startled, Sia lost her footing and tumbled down the stairs. The sudden scream caught everyone's attention, and they all rushed towards her. Leo was the first to reach her and was about to pick her up and take her to the hospital when Liam, who had run out of the study, stopped him. "I'll take care of my own woman." Their mother stood behind them, exasperated by the two tall men. On the way to the hospital, Sia had already called her friend Chloe. When Chloe saw Sia's ankle swollen like a pig's trotter, she frowned with concern and told Sia to brace herself. She needed to reset the dislocated bone. But the moment Chloe touched her ankle, before she even started, Sia let out a yelp. Having no other choice, Chloe told Liam to hold Sia and have her bury her head in his chest. Feeling his strong physique and the steady beat of his heart, Sia's mind began to wander. Before she could enjoy it for too long, she heard Chloe clap her hands and announce that she was done. Seeing Sia's flushed face, Chloe teased, "Looks like a handsome guy is better than anesthesia. Lying in his arms, you didn't even feel the pain." Embarrassed, Sia quickly lowered her head and pretended not to hear. Just then, their mother called to ask about Sia's injury. Liam assured her that she was fine now and that he would take her straight home to recover. Their mother was skeptical, knowing that Liam was completely helpless around the house. But since he insisted, she had no choice but to agree. After hanging up, she went to Leo's side. From all the signs tonight, it was clear that the girl Leo had been in love with in college was Sia. She told him to be clear about his position. Sia was now his sister-in-law, and he needed to maintain a proper distance. In truth, Leo was just feeling bitter. But it was a done deal now, and he could only bury his youthful crush deep in his heart. After getting Leo's assurance, his mother said, "I'm still not comfortable with your brother taking care of Sia. I'll make her some bone broth, and you can take it to her." Leo wouldn't miss such a great opportunity and readily agreed. Meanwhile, the young couple was engaged in a bit of foot massage therapy. The billionaire CEO was now rubbing his young wife's ankle. Sia, who had never had her foot touched by a man before, suddenly felt her face flush and her body heat up. When Liam asked what was wrong, she quickly said she was tired and wanted to sleep, urging him to hurry up. After 15 minutes of massaging, Sia's ankle had swollen down considerably. But the CEO suddenly stood up and demanded payment. Just as Sia was wondering what he meant, he suddenly cupped her face and, with a mischievous grin, leaned in for a kiss. Sia quickly resisted, which aggravated her injured ankle again. Seeing he couldn't get what he wanted, the impatient Liam decided to take a shower first and then give Sia a full-body examination later. The sound of the shower made Sia's imagination run wild, her body feeling hot. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. Puzzled, Sia opened the door to find Leo. Seeing that she was mostly fine, he felt a sense of relief. He told her, "Mom made you bone broth. She said eat what you need to heal. I'll put it on the coffee table." Just as he entered the living room, Sia's phone, which was in her room, started ringing. Since she couldn't move easily, Sia didn't think twice and asked Leo to get it for her. As he was about to enter the bedroom, he ran into Liam, who had just finished his shower. When Liam asked what he was doing, Leo explained that he was there on their mother's orders to bring soup for his sister-in-law. Seeing that Liam was ignoring him, Leo didn't bother trying to make small talk. After getting the phone for Sia, he smiled and told her he would be back tomorrow with more love soup, before closing the door and leaving. Standing outside the villa, Leo looked up at the brightly lit window, a sense of glee in his heart. When he had gone into the bedroom to get the phone, he had noticed that his brother and Sia weren't sharing a room. It seemed their relationship wasn't as harmonious as it appeared. After Leo left, Liam stayed in Sia's room in awkward silence. Feeling sleepy, Sia told him she was going to take a shower and that he should go back to his room to rest. But he used her immobility as an excuse, offering to help her wash. Horrified, Sia practically flew into the bathroom and slammed the door. "If he helps me shower, he'll definitely want more." But just moments after she closed the door, a scream came from the bathroom. Without a second thought, the CEO kicked the door open, to see Sia on the floor, trembling in pain. Liam rushed to help her up and saw she was clutching her wrist in agony. He casually remarked, "You didn't break your arm too, did you?" It was as if his words were a prophecy. After another examination by Chloe, Sia had successfully added a broken arm to her list of injuries. This made Sia so angry she cursed the CEO for being a jinx. Chloe, for her part, had never seen someone come to the hospital twice in one day with injuries to both their hand and foot. Upon returning to the estate, Leo immediately told his mother what he had discovered. She was shocked. But they seemed so good together before. Maybe the bathroom was just broken. But Leo was certain. His brother and Sia weren't acting like a married couple at all. They were probably just putting on a show. Before Leo could finish, the phone rang. His mother answered and learned that Sia had now broken her arm. She immediately told Liam to bring Sia back to the estate. If he continued to take care of her, she might not survive. Hearing that Sia was injured again, Leo looked panicked. Seeing this, his mother sighed and told him not to tell anyone about Liam and Sia sleeping in separate rooms, and also to keep his distance from Sia. His mother's stance instantly extinguished the spark of hope that had just ignited in Leo. "It seems that even if Sia and my brother are in a fake marriage, Mom won't let me be with her." The next morning, after a long night, Liam had just walked into his office to find Clara already waiting for him. When she saw him, her eyes filled with tears as she pleaded for his help. But Liam knew this first love of his all too well. She was now pregnant and had a deadbeat husband. Her sudden return to find him could only mean one thing: she wanted him to take the blame. Clara was also surprised that Liam knew so much about her situation. Shamelessly, she took his hand and said she never wanted to marry Louis and that he was unfit to be a father. At this point, even a fool could understand what was going on, let alone a seasoned businessman like the CEO. Even if his judgment was clouded, he wasn't going to willingly be a cuckold. He walked to the window, looked out at the scenery, and calmly told Clara to go home and rest. Seeing that Liam wasn't falling for it, Clara instantly turned on her acting skills, clutching her stomach and collapsing to the floor, trembling. This made the CEO nervous, and he rushed to her side. Seeing her covered in a cold sweat and looking extremely uncomfortable, Liam didn't hesitate. He picked her up and ran towards the hospital. However, while looking for the right department, they were spotted by Luna. She quickly took out her phone and started snapping pictures of them. When her companion looked at her quizzically, Luna explained that he was her former sugar daddy, and it seemed he had found a new flame. Seeing her excitement, her companion was confused. Shouldn't she be angry in this situation? Why did she look so happy? Luna continued to explain. Of course, these pictures aren't for me to get upset over. I'm sending them to his wife. That woman probably thinks she won, but even without me, Liam will just find other women. At that moment, Sia was enjoying a delicious breakfast when her phone buzzed. When she opened the message, her mind went completely blank. While eating, Sia's body suddenly trembled. In that instant, her heart felt like it was being torn apart, completely hollowed out. Noticing her strange reaction, Leo, who was sitting next to her, asked what was wrong, but Sia didn't want to be a laughingstock. She forced a calm expression and said it was just a spam message. However, her momentary distress didn't go unnoticed. She quickly changed the subject and started talking to Leo about his concert. The concert was supposed to be today, and she wondered why he hadn't left to prepare yet. In response to her question, Leo explained that due to her injury and the recent weather, he had postponed the concert. After the meal, a light rain began to fall outside. The autumn leaves danced in the wind, mirroring the desolation in Sia's heart. Staring out the window, she thought about many things. Even though she constantly reminded herself not to fall for Liam, her heart refused to listen. Suddenly, Liam walked up behind her. Looking at her back, he felt as if she had become a different person. Just as he sat down and was about to ask her something, his mother called him over. She got straight to the point, asking him what was going on between him and Sia, and telling him what Leo had discovered the night before. Faced with his mother's questioning, Liam had already anticipated this day would come. He explained that since both he and Sia often worked late, they slept in separate rooms to avoid disturbing each other. His mother, who had heard rumors about her son's behavior, said sternly, "Whether what you're saying is true or not, Sia is a good girl. I hope you cherish the person in front of you. Some people, once you miss them, are gone forever." His mother's words forced Liam to confront his own feelings. After his mother left, he returned to Sia's side. When Sia curiously asked what his mother had wanted, Liam suddenly wrapped his arms around her from behind. "Will you leave me?" His question left Sia stunned. According to their contract, they had less than a year left. But when the time came, could she really leave him? In truth, Sia wasn't sure herself. Some questions could only be answered by time. 2 months later, with her arm and foot finally healed, Sia attended Leo's concert. It was her first time back at her alma mater after so many years. Leo was already waiting for her at the entrance, but when he saw Liam behind her, he was surprised. He never expected his workaholic brother to come to his concert. The two brothers started bickering the moment they saw each other. Seeing the concert was about to start, Sia quickly broke up their argument. The two of them followed Leo to the venue. As they were walking, Liam suddenly grabbed Sia's arm and bit it, causing her so much pain she almost slapped him. What is with his weird habits? When Sia arrived at the concert hall, she was blown away by the scene. The place was packed and the fans were ecstatic. She had no idea Leo was so popular that a school concert could draw such a huge crowd. When Leo started singing, the fans went wild, screaming, shouting, and waving their arms. One of them nearly hit Sia, which would have sent her back to bed rest for another 2 months. The CEO saw this and immediately pulled her into his arms to protect her. As the concert reached its peak, Leo announced on stage that his next song was dedicated to his first love. The crowd erupted. Sia was curious, thinking Leo was quite a romantic, and remarked that the girl was very lucky. Her innocent comment infuriated the CEO. Without a second thought, in front of thousands of people, he wrapped his arms around her neck and kissed her. After breaking free, Sia ran towards the back, only to bump straight into a man's chest. She looked up and saw it was her old schoolmate, Julian. The three of them began to play with incredible passion. The young fans in the audience recognized Sia as their senior. After all, her photo was still displayed in the Outstanding Graduates section. Her identity quickly became a hot topic of discussion, and rumors spread like wildfire throughout the venue. But the most focused person in the crowd was Liam. He never knew that Sia could be so dazzling on stage, a far cry from the cold, work-obsessed woman he was used to. When she saw him give her a thumbs up from the audience, Sia blushed. "I got too carried away on stage. I hope I didn't scare him." After the performance, Sia walked straight towards Liam. When she reached the edge of the stage, in front of everyone, she fearlessly leaned forward and fell. The two men on stage, caught off guard, screamed her name. But below, the CEO had already caught his young wife securely in his arms. Sia had poured all her emotions into singing "Love What I Love." Now the two of them stared into each other's eyes. It was clear from Liam's expression that he was completely captivated by the charm Sia had just displayed. After the concert, at Leo's invitation, they went to a bar with the crew to celebrate. Urged on by the crowd, the two not only drank from intertwined arms but also shared a public kiss, making everyone jealous. Then the crowd took turns toasting Liam. The CEO was in high spirits, forbidding Sia from drinking a single drop while he drank 3 glasses for everyone offered to her. Seeing this different side of Liam tonight, Sia felt a warmth spread through her heart. For some reason, she found herself looking forward to this feeling. Leo, seeing the way Sia looked at his brother, understood a lot. Actually, Sia probably likes my brother. Even though the CEO was a strong drinker, he couldn't hold up against 100 people taking turns. Soon, he was starting to get dizzy. Seeing this, Sia quickly supported him and escaped the bar. But they hadn't gone far when Liam suddenly looked at her with a sincere expression. Sia, if I had met you in college, I definitely would have pursued you. His sudden words left Sia stunned. Liam said if. Does that mean it's too late for them now? Today, the Serene Group's studio was buzzing with excitement. All the young women in the company were going crazy. They couldn't believe that the popular idol, Leo, had not only readily agreed to be Serene's spokesperson, but had also postponed all his other commitments to shoot their commercial first. Sia was also secretly pleased. Who would have thought that the famous celebrity Leo was her own brother-in-law? What surprised her even more was his incredible influence. Just the rumor that he was endorsing their product had caused it to sell out instantly. Leo had spotted Sia during the shoot and ran over to her as soon as it was over. Sia handed him the coffee she had prepared for him. When Leo saw Sia's outfit, his eyes lit up. Just as they were discussing what to have for lunch, they saw Liam approaching. But when Liam saw the two of them standing together, he frowned, his expression gradually turning dark. Upon learning they were going to eat, Liam didn't even ask. He simply wrapped his arm around Sia and led her away, shooting a glance at Leo before they left. The 3 of them ended up at a hot pot restaurant. But when Leo saw that Sia had ordered a clear broth, he complained that eating hot pot with a clear broth was soulless, especially since he knew Sia loved spicy food. Sia whispered, Liam's stomach is sensitive, so we're eating something light. I'll make you a special dipping sauce that you'll absolutely love. After Sia left, Liam crossed his arms and told Leo to remember his place. But Leo disagreed. I knew Sia before you did. Besides, don't you still have feelings for Miss Clara? And you know what your real relationship with Sia is. Now that I've met Sia again after returning to the country, I don't want to miss my chance. Brother, I've never asked you for anything in my life. You can't force happiness. Just let me have Sia. Liam never expected Leo to be so direct with him. The 2 brothers stood up, facing each other, sparks flying. It was clear that Leo was serious this time. When Sia returned, Liam claimed his stomach was bothering him and he didn't want to eat hot pot, then tried to pull her away. But Leo grabbed Sia's other arm. If my brother isn't feeling well, his assistant can take him to the hospital. The hot pot is already here. Sia, didn't you promise to have lunch with me? Caught between their intense stares, Sia wished the ground would swallow her whole. Can't you 2 fight without dragging me into it? She thought. Seeing Leo getting handsy, the CEO barked at him to let go. But Leo retorted, everything has a first come, first served rule. We were the ones who planned to have lunch. You just showed up, and now you can't eat because of your own health issue. What's the deal with dragging Sia away? However, the CEO didn't care what he said. He simply pulled Sia out of the restaurant. As they were leaving, Sia quickly looked back and said, Liam isn't feeling well, so I'll take him to the hospital first. I'll treat you to a meal some other time. Hearing this, Leo was finally satisfied. After they left, he changed the broth to extra spicy and prepared to feast. But his heart was in turmoil. The only thing he was sure of was that this time, he wouldn't let Sia go again. The moment they got in the car, Liam started lecturing Sia, telling her to spend less time with Leo for the sake of appearances. Sia was baffled. He had been acting strange ever since they met today, and now he was telling her to stay away from her own brother-in-law. He was even trying to control her work life. It was infuriating. Annoyed, Sia took out some stomach medicine from her bag, tossed it to Liam, and prepared to get out of the car and go back to the company. But just as she opened the door, Liam grabbed her, telling her she had to help him pick out a gift. It turned out he hadn't come to see her for lunch. He had been sidetracked by Leo. It was Chairman Kane's golden wedding anniversary, and he needed Sia to accompany him. They went to the largest luxury shopping mall. But once there, Liam headed straight for the women's clothing section. He couldn't stand the sight of the clothes Sia was wearing for another second. When Sia came out after changing, he was momentarily stunned. Without thinking, he blurted out, "You look 5 years younger." However, his comment was met with a deadly question. "Are you saying I looked old before?" The clueless CEO actually nodded, which made Sia's face darken instantly. She sulked in a corner, cursing him under her breath. Only then did Liam realize his mistake, but he was too proud to apologize. But Liam had a foolproof method. He pulled Sia over to a luxury jewelry counter. When a global limited edition piece caught her eye, Sia completely forgot her earlier annoyance. She looked at this and that, like a country bumpkin in the big city for the first time. When she saw a mother-daughter bracelet set, she stopped in her tracks. Liam immediately asked the sales associate to take out the bracelets. However, when Sia saw it was a mother-daughter set, she turned to remind Liam that it wasn't suitable for Mrs. Kane. But before she could finish, Liam took her hand and put one of the bracelets on her wrist. "It might not be right for Mrs. Kane, but it's perfect for you. This is for my Mrs. Lee." Looking at the exquisite jewelry on her wrist, Sia loved it. But it was a mother-daughter set. How could she wear it alone? In response to her question, Liam smiled slightly. "Who says we won't have a child in the future?" His words left Sia speechless. The sales associate happily chimed in, "This is the only limited edition mother bracelet in the country. I'll wrap up the daughter bracelet for you." When Sia saw the price, she was about to take the bracelet off, but Liam stopped her. "Sia, if you don't accept it, I'll be angry." Unable to refuse his generosity, Sia reluctantly agreed. After all, she was only pretending to protest. Under the guise of shopping for Mrs. Kane, the two of them ended up browsing for themselves. Whenever they found something that suited Sia, the CEO would buy it without a second thought. In a short time, they had bought a lot, but it was all for Sia. They hadn't bought a single gift for Mrs. Kane. Seeing it was already evening, Sia reminded Liam, but he casually took out his phone and called his assistant, Tom. "Tom, pick out a gift for Mrs. Kane and then send someone to pick up my wife's new clothes." After hanging up, he picked out another outfit for Sia to try on. When she was about to refuse, he pushed her into the dressing room. After a series of trying on clothes, the store manager was ecstatic. Although most of their customers were wealthy, it was rare to see a couple as decisive and generous as these two. After they paid, she handed them a coupon. "Ma'am, with a purchase of over $5 million, you can participate in the mall's golden egg smashing event on the first floor. Just show your receipt." When Sia told Liam about this, she was surprised that he readily agreed. They went down to the event on the first floor. As expected of a luxury mall, even the golden eggs were gold-plated, and the whole event was extravagantly decorated. When it came to choosing an egg, they both pointed to the same one. When Sia smashed it open, a custom-made charm, the grand prize of the event, was revealed. The crowd cheered, but Sia thought the charm was a bit tacky. To her surprise, the CEO took her phone and, with a few quick movements, attached both charms to it. Looking at it now, it actually looked quite nice. After their shopping spree, they saw it was still early and decided to catch a movie before the banquet. As they were about to enter the theater, a familiar figure caught Sia's eye. It was Leo. Curious about the girl he was with, Sia pulled Liam over to get a closer look at the kind of woman who could capture the nation's heartthrob. The two, deep in conversation, were startled when they saw a couple approaching them. Leo's heart sank. He regretted ever agreeing to his mom's request to take this girl out for a movie. What was even more curious was the girl, Coco-san. When she saw Liam, she blushed. But just as she was introducing herself and reaching out to shake his hand, Liam grabbed Sia and turned to leave. Her hand was left hanging awkwardly in the air. As she watched them walk away, a look of disappointment crossed her face. Coco's real target was Liam, but unfortunately, he was already married. Unbeknownst to her, her expression was fully captured by Leo. He teased, "They're long gone. You can wipe that lovesick look off your face now." Coco quickly tried to explain, but Leo cut her off. "Coco, I don't care if you like my brother or how genuine your feelings are, but if you're trying to use me to get into the Lee family, don't even think about it. To be honest, I don't like you at all. But as for you and my brother, I'm more than willing to play matchmaker." His words piqued Coco's interest. If she had a chance to marry Liam, she had to take it. Determined, Coco caught up to Leo and immediately agreed to cooperate with him. If she could win over Liam, she would do anything. Pleased to have Coco's help, Leo declared that from now on, she would be his girlfriend in name only. After agreeing on their goal, Leo took out his phone, saying there was an opportunity that very night. He told Coco to go home, get dressed up, and he would pick her up for a banquet. When Coco looked confused, Leo leaned in and whispered, "Don't you want to marry my brother? Then you have to win him over first." Coco finally understood, her face flushing as she looked down. She knew Leo was right. If she could just get Liam, she would have a chance to enter the Lee family. After making their plans, they went their separate ways. Leo then made a call to arrange the details. As he was on the phone, he bumped into a woman coming from the opposite direction. When he looked up, he saw it was Chloe Ning. Noticing the stains all over her, Leo quickly apologized, and without a second thought, pulled her along to help her clean up. Meanwhile, in the movie theater, Sia was getting emotional over the film. She tried to hold back her tears, not wanting to cry in front of Liam, but her eyes kept welling up. Liam noticed and pulled her into his arms, telling her to let it all out. After a good cry, the movie ended. Seeing it was almost time for the banquet, they drove to the venue. The moment they walked in, a blonde woman intimately linked her arm with Liam's, causing him to quickly back away. After breaking free, Liam explained that the woman next to him was his wife, and asked the blonde to be mindful of her actions. He then whispered to Sia that the woman was Lacey Kane, Chairman Kane's only daughter. Seeing him so flustered was amusing. But Lacey had a cheerful personality and had no interest in Liam. She introduced herself to Sia. Just as they were saying goodbye to Lacey and about to go congratulate Chairman Kane, they turned and ran right into Leo and Coco. And so, the Battle of the Banquet was about to begin. The two couples were surprised to run into each other again at the banquet. After a brief chat with Leo, Sia's stomach started to grumble. Realizing she hadn't eaten all day, she announced she was going to find some food and told them to go mingle. After she left, Leo gave Coco a meaningful look. Coco understood and quickly followed Sia. Once the women were gone, Leo dropped his pretense. "You're a great actor, brother. You can pretend to be so loving with someone you don't even like." In the face of Leo's provocation, the CEO once again warned him to mind his own business. After a brief confrontation, they went their separate ways to network with their respective partners. A little while later, Liam scanned the room and realized Sia was gone. A sense of unease washed over him. He found a server and asked where she was. To his surprise, the server handed him a room key. Mrs. Lee said she was feeling a bit tired and went up to her room to rest. Puzzled, the CEO took the key and went to the room on the second floor. But as he opened the door and softly called Sia's name, the door slammed shut behind him. Before he could react, a woman wrapped her arms around him from behind. Startled, he quickly broke free and turned on the light. It was Leo's girlfriend. She was scantily clad, her ample chest on full display. Just as the CEO was trying to figure out what was going on, Coco lunged at him again. "Liam, I like you. Please be with me," she pleaded, rubbing her body against his. She exuded a strange fragrance that made him feel hotter and dizzier with every breath. As she continued to press against him, the CEO started to lose control. Realizing he was about to give in, he pushed her away and quickly left the room, afraid he would lose his self-control and assault her. Liam gasped for breath as he stumbled downstairs. He saw Sia walking towards him and without a second thought rushed over. Ignoring the stares of the other guests, he pulled her into a passionate kiss. Amidst the pointing and murmuring of the crowd, Liam finally let go of Sia after what felt like half an hour. "Take me home now," he urged. "If I lose control and assault you in public, we'll be on the front page of every paper tomorrow." Sia struggled to support him and get him into the car, then sped home. Through the rearview mirror, she saw Liam's flushed face and bare chest, his 18-pack abs on full display. The sight made her face burn, and she had to keep chanting, don't look," even as her eyes kept drifting to the back. After a difficult struggle, they finally got home. Using all her strength, Sia managed to get the disoriented CEO through the door. But whether it was intentional or not, the moment she closed the door, he collapsed, pulling her down with him. Sia tried to get up, but he held her tight. Seeing the predatory look in his eyes, Sia was terrified. Before she could say anything, he kissed her again. Even if Sia was naive, she now understood what was happening. Liam had been drugged with an aphrodisiac. As he prepared to go further, Sia panicked and fought with all her might. Although a part of her was tempted by his powerful physique, she reminded herself that she couldn't give in so easily. Their marriage was already a mistake, she couldn't let it go on. Disheartened, the CEO suddenly got up and told Sia to run a cold bath for him. Seizing the opportunity, Sia fled, afraid that if she stayed a second longer, she would be forced into something she'd regret. Watching her retreating figure, Liam's heart turned to ice. This cold woman, and yet I've foolishly fallen for her. As dawn broke, Leo was still asleep. Coco, her body aching, looked at the handsome man beside her. Ever since Liam had ruthlessly told her he would never marry her the night before, Coco had decided to target Leo instead. No matter what, if she could get into the Lee family, her life would be set. Having made her decision, Coco threw open the curtains, flooding the room with bright sunlight. The sudden light woke Leo. When he saw Coco disheveled and blushing, he was stunned. He remembered Coco calling him over last night, but he had lost consciousness as soon as he entered the room. What had happened to her? Coco put on a pitiful act. "I was drugged with an aphrodisiac last night, and you were the one who helped me." Hearing this, Leo panicked. They had planned to take down his brother, so how did he end up in this mess? Leo ran his hands through his hair, cursing under his breath. A moment later, a composed Leo got dressed and prepared to leave. He knew exactly what kind of woman Coco was, and he had no intention of marrying her. He told her plainly that she could have money, a house or a car, but marriage was out of the question. Then he walked out without a second glance. However, the cunning Coco wasn't going to let him off so easily. This was her chance to get into the Lee family, and she was going to seize it. Meanwhile, at the young couple's villa, the sun was high in the sky, but Sia hadn't heard any sound from Liam's room. She brought a bowl of porridge and knocked on his door. When there was no answer, she started to worry. Liam had spent half the night in a cold bath. What if something had happened to him? She opened the door and went in, finding him curled up in bed. She reached out to check if he had a fever, but he suddenly grabbed her hand and with a swift movement pulled her into his arms. When Sia questioned him, the CEO whined like a child, blaming her for not being his antidote the night before, which was why he now had a fever. But Sia had seen his needy sick act before and wasn't falling for it again. She pushed his head off her chest where it had been rubbing, set out his medicine, and left for the office. A month later, after a thorough investigation by his assistant, Liam finally found out who had drugged him. As expected, it was Coco. But Leo had also been involved. Connecting the two, Liam immediately understood their intentions. After arranging for them to be monitored, he dismissed his assistant. But then he called him back and told him to send a bouquet of roses to Sia. When Sia's starstruck assistant brought the flowers to her office, Sia was baffled. She was even more surprised to learn they were from Liam. She had to confirm the sender's name 3 times, which the assistant found odd. Isn't it normal for a husband to send his wife flowers? Why is she so surprised? Faced with her assistant's confusion, Sia realized how she must have looked. But before she could explain, she got a call from home, telling her to come back with Liam immediately. There was a family emergency. For them to be so urgent, it had to be something that could affect the future of the Lee family. Sia told her mother-in-law not to worry, and rushed to meet up with Liam. But when they got home and saw Coco and her mother, they were both stunned. The CEO, however, knowing the whole story, looked at his fire-playing younger brother with a smirk. It seems my little brother has gotten himself burned this time. When the young couple rushed back to the estate, they were about to ask their mother what had happened. When Coco's mother suddenly stood up and yelled, "Our Coco is pregnant with the second young master's child. Your Lee family has to take responsibility." Seeing Liam's expression darken, Coco quickly stopped her shrewish mother and, putting on a pitiful act, started apologizing to Leo. She claimed that after that night she hadn't wanted to bother him again, but she had unexpectedly gotten pregnant. Her mother was furious at her daughter's meekness and started berating her. Liam's father, unable to watch any longer, stood up and demanded to know from Leo if the child was his. Leo was in a tough spot. He had lost consciousness the moment he entered the room and only woke up the next day. He had no idea what had happened. Seeing Leo's denial, Coco's mother exploded. "How could it not be yours? Our Coco is a good, innocent girl who has only ever been with you." At this point, their mother also tried to persuade Leo. "Look, Coco is pregnant. Maybe you two should..." Before she could finish, Leo firmly refused, saying they could have money, a house, or a car, but marriage was absolutely not an option. This enraged his father, who grabbed an ashtray from the table and threw it at him. It hit Leo square on the forehead, and blood immediately started to flow. Their mother rushed to check on him and told Sia to get the first aid kit. Sia ran upstairs and Liam followed her. As Sia was looking for the kit, Liam suddenly asked for her opinion on the matter. Sia was surprised, but she felt it was Leo's own business. She was more worried about her in-laws. They looked extremely upset. Liam was surprised that Sia's main concern was his parents' health. It was clear she had no feelings for Leo. After Sia brought the first aid kit, their mother quickly disinfected and bandaged Leo's wound. After all, Leo was a celebrity. A scar would be a disaster. Seeing the whole Lee family focused on Leo, ignoring them, Coco's mother brought the topic back to the main issue, determined to settle the matter today. But it was Liam who responded. "If Miss Sun is carrying a child of the Lee family, we will certainly take full responsibility. But if the child is not, then it has nothing to do with us." His words made Coco panic. She quickly insisted the child was Leo's, but Liam just laughed. "Miss Sun? For someone who can drug a man, creating a lie out of thin air shouldn't be too difficult, right?" Coco's mother, who knew how her daughter had gotten pregnant, grabbed the panicked Coco, afraid she would be tricked into telling the truth by Liam. "You're bullies. Coco will go get a test to prove the child is Leo's." With that, she pulled her daughter and stormed out. After they left, Sia went to comfort her upset mother-in-law, saying that they couldn't be sure the child was Leo's until the results came back. Leo, meanwhile, quietly went upstairs. Liam followed him. At this point, Leo was completely defeated. He knew Liam was there to gloat, but there was nothing he could do but ask him to close the door on his way out. But Liam leaned against the doorframe. "If it weren't for Sia telling me to act like a responsible older brother, I wouldn't bother with you. Instead of wallowing in self-pity, you should be investigating Coco and finding out if that child is even yours." With that, he closed the door and went downstairs. After a moment, Leo took out his phone and made a mysterious call. The next day, as soon as Sia got to the office, she noticed everyone looked gloomy. When she asked, she found out that the news about Leo and Coco had been leaked. Everyone felt their national idol's image had been tarnished, hence their low spirits. Sia couldn't believe how foolish the woman was. This would not only ruin Leo, but what good would it do her either? Her assistant quickly reminded her that the story was trending, and the board might be unhappy about Leo's endorsement and might want to terminate his contract early. This reminder made Sia realize that Leo still had a shoot scheduled in the next few days. But her assistant told her with a helpless expression that Leo's team had just called to cancel. Sia understood the gravity of the situation. Just then, her phone rang. It was Leo. Before she could say anything, he got straight to the point and said he wanted to terminate the contract. Sia sighed wearily and told him that she would not terminate it. She assured him that even if everyone else abandoned him, she would always be his staunchest supporter. All he needed to do now was figure out how to get through this crisis. Hearing her words, Leo sat up straight. He couldn't let Sia see him so defeated. He thanked her and hung up. Sia had just ended her call when her assistant rushed in. "Director, the board has called an emergency meeting. They want you there immediately." As expected, what was coming had come. Since she couldn't avoid it, she had to face it. Sia composed herself and prepared for the verbal battle ahead. She had barely sat down in the meeting room when she was hit with the first blow. But before she could respond, a familiar voice came from the doorway. Everyone turned to see it was Liam. They were all shocked, but Liam explained, "Since this is a shareholders meeting, as a holder of 15% of Serene Pearl's shares, shouldn't I be here? Also, whatever decision the director makes today, I support it." His words were like a magic pill, giving Sia the confidence to go all out. She stood up and declared that she would absolutely not replace Leo as their spokesperson. "If you want to terminate the contract, every one of you will have to take responsibility." Choosing Leo as the spokesperson for the new product was a unanimous decision by the board. You can't just back out when it's time to take responsibility. The termination fee is $1.4 million. There are 7 board members, so that's $200,000 each. Hearing they would have to pay, the old foxes couldn't stay quiet any longer. They stood up and accused Sia of being arrogant, shouting that Serene Pearl wasn't her personal kingdom. But their outburst was met with the CEO's death glare. Just as one of them was about to argue further, the CEO stood up, his eyes filled with menace. "If you don't shut up, I have plenty of ways to make you shut up permanently." His words silenced the room. If anyone else had said it, they might have thought it was a bluff. But coming from Liam, it was a 100% certainty. Seeing they couldn't cause any more trouble, Sia quickly ended the meeting. After they left, Sia let out a long sigh of relief. It was a good thing Liam had come. Otherwise, their aggressive attitude would have eaten her alive. But now, thinking about how they had acted like timid quails in front of Liam, Sia couldn't help but laugh until her sides hurt. Seeing her so happy, Liam asked what she would have done if he hadn't come today. Sia's expression turned serious. "Those board members are just bullies who prey on the weak. Right now, besides me, no one else can lead this company. I would have taken them down one by one and made them believe in me." That evening, the company was celebrating a new partnership at a bar. As everyone was getting ready to leave, Sia noticed a familiar figure at the bar. Sia saw a completely wasted Leo slumped over the bar and quickly went to wake him up. When he groggily looked up and saw who it was, he froze, thinking he was dreaming. Seeing him in such a state, Sia helped him up, planning to take him home. If he was photographed like this by the paparazzi, it would be a disaster. However, with her small frame, supporting the 6'3", Leo almost made her collapse. Just as she was about to take a step, she felt a weight lift from her shoulder. She turned to see it was Liam. When Liam asked what was going on, Sia quickly explained that she was there for a team-building event and had happened to see Leo drunk, so she was going to take him home. But Liam, with a look of disgust, tossed Leo to his assistant like a sack of potatoes and told him to call Alex and have him pick up the drunkard. Half an hour later, Alex spotted Leo squatting drunkenly on the side of the road from a distance. Seeing his boss in such an embarrassing state, Alex's first instinct was to turn around and leave. But Liam's assistant saw him and quickly called him over, handing off the hot potato that was Leo before running off. After a struggle to get Leo into the car, he started acting up, refusing to leave and demanding that Alex take him to Sia. As they were at a standstill, Alex's phone rang. Learning that his mother had fallen and was in the hospital, he shoved Leo into the car, planning to drop him off at home before heading to the hospital. Just then, Leo pointed at a woman on the street and called out, "Chloe Ning!" Alex was surprised. He had been with Leo for years and never knew he had such a friend. But when he learned that Sia had introduced them, an idea sparked in his mind. He dragged the drunk Leo out of the car, handed him over to Chloe, and asked her to take him home, explaining that his mother was in the hospital. Then he left without a second thought. The moment he was handed over, Leo threw his arms around Chloe. When she asked him where he lived, he just pointed at the sky. Helpless, she took out her phone to call Sia. But Leo knocked it out of her hand. Her brand new iPhone 88 rolled straight into a storm drain. This made Chloe furious, and she gave Leo a good beating. But she couldn't really stay mad at a drunk person. Without her phone, she had no choice but to take him back to her place. But her bad luck wasn't over. Not long after they got in a taxi, Leo wrapped his arms around her and threw up all over her new clothes. At that moment, Chloe felt a murderous rage and gave him another beating. After a great deal of effort, Chloe finally got the drunkard home. Seeing him in such a state, she muttered to herself, "What could a famous celebrity possibly have to be so upset about to get this drunk? He has money, fame, and looks." But from Leo's drunken ramblings, she gathered that he was about to become an unwilling father. She vaguely remembered hearing something about it at the hospital that day. "Getting this drunk over a woman," Chloe said as she started pinching Leo's handsome face. Leo then lay down and Chloe, losing her balance, fell on top of him. Her first kiss, which she had saved for decades, was stolen by a drunkard. But as she sat on top of him, she was captivated by his chiseled abs. Chloe quickly got up, telling herself to calm down and not be swayed by his good looks. The next morning, Chloe started using an old phone she had found. Curious, she looked up Coco's social media. What she saw made her laugh. The woman was painting herself as a victim, but she had no actual proof. Chloe's laughter woke the dreaming Leo. When he woke up and saw where he was completely stunned. "Did I lose my virginity again last night?" Seeing him awake, Chloe instantly presented him with an itemized bill. "Mr. Lee, due to your actions last night, you have caused me a total of $8,592 in damages. Cash, card, or bank transfer." After a busy morning, Chloe received a package. Puzzled, she opened it to find that it was the new phone and money that Leo had sent as compensation. But looking at the small box next to it, she thought, "This can't hold much money." Just then, a nurse, unable to contain her curiosity, came over and suggested that the small box might contain a ring from a suitor. Chloe, a lifelong single woman, laughed as if it were the joke of the century. How could that be? But before she could finish, she opened the box and found a diamond ring inside. Chloe's expression changed instantly. She couldn't understand why Leo would send her a ring. While she was still in shock, the gossip mongers behind her were already buzzing. Embarrassed, Chloe quickly found a quiet corner to calm her racing heart. Suddenly, she heard voices from a nearby corner. Hearing a woman ask a male doctor to help her with something in exchange for the vice president position at the hospital, Chloe's sense of justice flared. Such blatant bribery of a doctor is unacceptable. She quickly took out her phone and started recording. The more she listened, the more she realized something was wrong. This woman was the same manipulative mistress who had ruined Leo's reputation. After listening carefully, she understood. Coco wasn't actually pregnant. The Lee family had demanded proof that the child was Leo's, so she was now trying to bribe a doctor to forge a report for her, promising him the vice president position once she became the second Mrs. Lee. After Coco's tempting offer, the two struck a deal, but they had no idea that their entire conversation was being recorded by Chloe. After they left, Chloe quietly slipped away. Leo was going to owe her big time for this. The next day, Coco arrived at the hospital for her checkup, accompanied by a group of people. To her surprise, the doctor in charge was now Chloe. When Sia heard Chloe's voice, she was shocked. Chloe explained that the head of the department had specifically asked her to conduct Miss Sun's examination. Once inside the examination room, Coco, still believing that Chloe was following the head doctor's instructions, was completely at ease. But Chloe had no mercy for the manipulative mistress. She took the largest needle from the medical kit and without a second thought stuck it into Coco. When Coco woke up, she was already out of the examination room. Her mother rushed to ask Chloe how many months pregnant she was and if it was a boy or a girl. But the only response she got was the word virgin. Chloe then presented the examination report, which clearly stated that Coco was indeed still a virgin, meaning she was not pregnant at all. Exposed, Coco still tried to argue that the report was fake. To shut her up for good, Chloe played the recording of her conversation with the doctor from the day before. The truth was finally out. A relieved Leo went up and hugged Chloe. "Chloe Ning, you're a true hero for saving me." Seeing their intimate gesture, their mother asked Sia about their relationship. Sia was also confused. They were supposed to be rivals, so why did they seem so close now? But their mother didn't care about that. Chloe had cleared Leo's name, and Sia had told her she was her best friend and was single. Her eyes lit up as she looked at Chloe, already scheming how to make this match happen. The video Chloe provided was the most powerful evidence. Sia had her send it over and then approached the mistress. "Miss Sun, if you don't want this video of you bribing a doctor and your fake medical report to be posted online, then you will apologize to Leo and clarify the situation on your social media." Faced with the righteous Sia, the mistress readily agreed. But her request for Sia to delete the video first was flatly refused. The mistress knew she had no way out and pitifully turned to beg Leo for forgiveness. In truth, Leo was also struggling internally. Although Coco had harmed him, he was the one who had dragged her into this mess. But in the end, he decided he had to take responsibility for his own mistakes. After saying this, he and the others prepared to leave. But Coco, with nothing left to lose, suddenly blurted out that Leo was in love with Sia. Sia froze. Seeing Leo's furious expression, Coco revealed everything. How he had asked her to pretend to be his girlfriend and how he had her drug Liam. She then pointed at Sia and sneered, "What's so great about this woman? She has both Lee brothers wrapped around her finger." Seeing the situation was now affecting Sia, Liam stepped forward. "Leo, I told you to handle Coco and not let her bother Sia. If this woman spouts any more nonsense, don't blame me for getting involved." Chloe saw Leo, who had just gotten out of one mess, fall right into another. His dejected look made her heart ache. Without thinking, she walked up to Coco. "Miss Sun, I don't know where you got the idea that Leo likes Sia. He spent the night at my place 2 days ago." She then took out the diamond ring. "He gave me this. If he had those kinds of feelings for his sister-in-law, why would he give me a ring?" Coco, who had been gloating just a moment before, was now furious. She slapped the ring out of Chloe's hand and then slapped her across the face. Her heart was filled with hatred for Chloe. It was because of her that she had been exposed and lost everything. Seeing Chloe get hit, Leo rushed forward and pushed the still aggressive mistress away. He anxiously asked Chloe if she was okay, and had someone restrain the now hysterical mistress, while he took Chloe to a nearby room to treat her wound. Leo never expected Chloe to help him out in such a way, but Chloe said she was just trying to save Sia from embarrassment. After all, being told that your brother-in-law is in love with you in front of your husband would be an incredibly awkward drama for Sia to endure. But Chloe was still curious and asked Leo if he really did like Sia. At this point, Leo felt he could tell Chloe anything. He told her the whole story of how he had fallen for Sia and said that he would now put those feelings aside, since she was his sister-in-law. As they were talking, Sia burst in. The Sun family had been kicked out of the hospital and the head doctor had been fired. Hearing this news, Chloe jumped up, her split lip forgotten, and laughed heartily. Her inner hero was satisfied with another victory for justice. But Sia pulled Chloe aside and asked when she and Leo had gotten together. "And he gave you a ring? Is he proposing?" Chloe knew Sia would misunderstand, and quickly explained that she had only pretended to be Leo's girlfriend to save Sia from the awkward situation. "You really are my best friend." Sia squeezed Chloe's hand and said emotionally, "Thank you, my dear. But now Mom thinks you and Leo are about to get married and is already busy planning everything. You two are on your own." With that, she turned and walked out, leaving the two stunned and speechless. After the storm, Leo's popularity quickly soared back to its peak, and his photo shoot with the Serene group proceeded as scheduled. Sia was looking at the trending topics. The comments were overwhelmingly against Coco. Suddenly, her assistant rushed in, panicked. Director Sia, the actress who was supposed to shoot the ad with Mr. Lee today, backed out at the last minute because she said the pay was too low. This infuriated Sia. She cursed the actress's entire lineage in her head and told her assistant to blacklist her and immediately terminate all their collaborations. Leo, who had overheard, said he could shoot the ad alone, but Sia disagreed. The ad was for Valentine's Day, and a solo shoot wouldn't fit the theme. As everyone was at a loss, the photographer looked Sia up and down, a spark in his eye. "Director Sia, why don't you give it a try? It won't be easy to find an actress who can match Leo's presence on such short notice, and your looks and figure are just as good as any celebrities." At the photographer's suggestion, everyone agreed. And so Sia was pushed into the dressing room. As expected, with a little touch-up from the makeup artist, Sia looked absolutely radiant. Standing next to Leo, they looked like a perfect heaven-made couple. Plus, with Leo's deep-seated affection for Sia, the photo shoot was a huge success. And they finished ahead of schedule. Faced with everyone's praise, Sia's face flushed, and she quickly fled the scene, telling her assistant to get the promotional materials out as soon as possible, while she escaped the buzzing crowd. But she had just stepped out when she bumped right into Liam. When the CEO saw his young wife wearing a strapless top again, he was furious, which scared her into quickly changing into a much more modest and formal outfit. When Sia came out, she found Liam still waiting for her. She asked him what he wanted. Seeing her change of clothes, Liam was finally satisfied and said they were having lunch together. Without waiting for her to agree, he pulled her along. However, because Sia and Leo's photo shoot had been so perfect, the news had already spread throughout the company. As Sia walked by, people pointed and whispered behind her back. Unfortunately for them, the CEO had excellent hearing, and their gossip immediately caught his attention. Faced with his questioning, a guilty Sia couldn't meet his eyes and quickly explained that she was just filling in at the last minute and had only taken a few photos with Leo. But what Sia called a few photos was actually thousands in the photographer's camera. Seeing that Sia was getting angry, the CEO didn't press the issue further. But since she had taken photos with Leo behind his back, she deserved some kind of punishment. Disregarding the fact that they were in the company lobby, he pulled her in and exercised his CEO privilege, a long, deep kiss. The onlookers were stunned. Director Sia was publicly kissing a man. This was going to be the talk of the office for the rest of the day. But where there is joy, there is also sorrow. The most miserable person at this moment was the ultimate mistress, Coco. Even during the day, she had to keep her doors locked and curtains drawn, terrified of being attacked by Leo's fans. Seeing the Serene Group's promotional pictures, she threw her phone on the ground in a rage. If it weren't for them, I wouldn't be a social outcast. But seeing the intimate photos of the brother-in-law and sister-in-law gave her an idea. She quickly picked up her phone and made a mysterious call. "Brother Chang, I need you to do something for me." At 11 p.m., a miserable Leo was still waiting for Chloe at the emergency room entrance. She had told him 2 hours ago that she would be out soon, but now it was so late and she hadn't appeared, nor was she answering her phone. He started to worry something had happened. Impatient, he went to the side to have a smoke. Suddenly, a cry for help caught his attention. In a dark corner of the hospital, 2 menacing men were attacking a young woman. Without a second thought, Leo rushed to intervene. Seeing they had been discovered, the attackers fled. Leo went to check on the woman and saw it was Chloe. Chloe, still in shock, had her eyes closed. Leo, thinking she was unconscious, started shaking her vigorously. Chloe, who had been on the verge of passing out, was nearly sent to the afterlife by her rescuer. Seeing that Chloe could still talk, Leo quickly picked her up and rushed her into the hospital. After a brief examination, they found that the attacker's weapon had missed disfiguring her by just 2 millimeters. Furious, Leo started lecturing her. This was the scene that Sia walked in on. Sia ran over to check on Chloe's injuries, which weren't as bad as Leo had described over the phone. Covered in blood, foaming at the mouth. But after Chloe described what the attackers had said, Sia and Leo both exclaimed the same name, Coco. Leo couldn't believe Coco had become so unhinged. This time, he wouldn't back down and let others suffer because of him. He was determined to make Coco pay. Seeing it was already midnight, Chloe told them to leave. It was so late, and Leo didn't feel comfortable letting Sia go home alone, so he offered to drive her. Sia didn't think much of it. Saving the taxi fare meant she could buy a meatball tomorrow. In the car, Sia once again brought up Chloe, hoping Leo wouldn't let her get hurt again. After saying this, she got out of the car and went home. But the moment she walked in, she found Liam sitting upright on the sofa, his cold eyes fixed on her. Before she could say anything, he bombarded her with a series of questions. Sia, exhausted from a long day and a stressful trip to the hospital, barely registered his questions. But Liam was relentless. He pushed her down onto the sofa. "Don't you know? After your ad photos with Leo came out this afternoon, the online comments have been disgusting." Hearing this, Sia was shocked. She pushed him away and opened her laptop to see. At the top of the trending list was,